Okay, today we are talking about Gomez the Politician, episode 4 of the Addams Family series from 1964. In this episode, Gomez knows that it's election season and he is excited for politics. He goes through a list of all of his favorite politicians. Notably, they have all lost. He then decides to pick a new candidate to show his support to and throw his money behind, and this happens to be Mr. Hillard. I believe this is the same Mr. Hillard as the pilot. I'm excited to see where this episode goes, especially because with the Addams, you always get a little bit of tongue-in-cheek comment about society and American society, so politics can always be very fun and easily digestible with the Addamses. So let's get into the episode and see what happens.
This is so exciting! I remember the first time I voted, 1906. Now, Ma, you know there was no women's suffrage in 1906. That didn't stop me.
Grandmama is a freaking trailblazer. She was voting even when she didn't have the right to vote yet, and that didn't stop her. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. I can't. I love Grandmama in general, but knowing that she is a rebel who voted and did what she needed to do for her own rights, iconic. Okay, so is Grandmama Addams a brat?
Oh, I do wish they wouldn't shout so. It keeps little Pugsley's octopus awake. Poor thing's getting rings under his tentacles.
So Morticia doesn't seem to care so much about the actual convention on TV as much as how the repercussions of watching it are affecting her family, which I think there is a deeper message to be said there about how at the end of the day, politics are affecting the American home. But also on some level, we can talk a little bit about Aristotle, the octopus. I know how to ball. He knows Aristotle. That's not right. He knows how to ball. I know Aristotle. And then also talking about how her plants are just not handling this well because of all the stress in the air.
What are you doing, darling?
Just getting the playroom into the election spirit.
Is he running again?
No, but I thought I'd bring out the pictures of the men we Addamses have supported in the past.
Very appropriate.
Gomez is downstairs in the playroom hanging up his photos of his favorite candidates through the years, who happen to be people who have not won before, but Gomez still wants to show them support.
All this natural political talent. Shouldn't you be running for public office?
No, we Addamses prefer to think of ourselves as kingmakers. The man I've decided to throw my support to, in every way, is Leonard G. Quimby.
So Morticia wants Gomez to get into politics. She thinks he'd be good at it, but Gomez thinks of himself as the kingmaker, so he's going to throw his money to support this new candidate.
Good. George Bass is my name.
Addams here.
Is all this yours?
Well, we go back to the cemetery.
We all do. Sometime. It's nice to see citizens taking an interest in the election, even if they have backed the wrong man.
Quimby? Why, he's our insurance man. Got us off the hook when my son Pugsley accidentally blew up the garage.
So someone comes along saying that Gomez is supporting the wrong candidate, and Gomez tells him about how this candidate helped Pugsley get out of a bind, and that's why he's showing him so much support.
I have been a little hasty. Do you have a picture of your man?
Do I have a picture of mine? There he is, the voice of progress.
That's Sam L. Hilliard. Well, he's an old friend. I hope the L stands for Lucifer.
It does.
So now Gomez finds out that the other candidate is Sam L. Hilliard, who was an old friend, which I'm pretty sure this is the same guy who they dealt with in the very first episode. We'll see.
Old friend from the school board, Sam L. Hilliard. I've changed horses in midstream. That's the Addams way.
Gomez tells Morticia that this is the same Mr. Hillard that they had to deal with the school board, and he changed sides already, which he is very excited about.
I'm sure Mr. Hilliard will be very happy we've decided to join his campaign.
I can just see his...
This is kind of the inciting incident of the whole episode. I mean, I guess you could say the inciting incident would have been them watching the convention, but I think this is where the actual meat of the episode comes into play. They have decided to go show their support to Mr. Hillard, which has never worked out in the past for Mr. Hillard.
No. I want no part of that Addams Family.
They're good for a nice campaign contribution.
You get it.
Mr. Hilliard remembers what he went through last time he saw them, and he does not want to interact with them again. But here's my question. At the very end of the first episode, he was almost on the Addams' side because he realized they really did just care about their children. And arguably, you could say the reason he got so far in politics is that he took a hard stance against violence. And that was something that was caused by the Addams saying they weren't okay with the violence against the dragons in the storybooks. So, in theory, would he even have a political campaign right now if the Addams hadn't intervened? Food for thought.
Hilliard is nice. Vote for him twice.
The Addams' home has turned into a headquarters for Hilliard. Even though Hilliard hasn't even approved of them endorsing him yet, they make posters. They are going to town to support their candidate.
Welcome.
Mr. Hilliard, how nice of you to join us.
Mr. Hilliard comes in, carried in by Lurch. He does not look like he wants to be there. He looks very tired and very exhausted already, even though he hasn't even really been in the house yet.
Mrs. Addams and I would like to discuss some campaign strategy with you.
Look, I just remembered a speaking engagement.
Gomez and Morticia tell Mr. Hilliard that they want to talk strategy with him and that they have some ideas. He tries to get away and Thing grabs a hold of him, not letting him go.
Sure. Well, why don't you just make out a check for, say, 5,000?
A drop in the bucket.
10?
20 or nothing.
20?
We insist.
Mr. Hilliard really does just hope that they'll give just a payment or some sort of donation and he can leave. But I love this trope. They show this in the Addams Family all the time of when it comes to like money or any kind of like making like an auction type thing where they have to like up the ante. They're always the first one to up the ante because they do not care about the money. The money is not the problem. They are so rich that they will just give away the money. Like he's like 5,000 and he's like, wait, you mean 10? And then Morticia's like 20 or like no less than 20. So like in theory, you could ask for whatever and they would support it. If they really believe in something, they would put the money behind it. They put their money where their mouth is, those Addamses.
Number one, we want to get our butler Lurch on television.
We feel he'll appeal to the women's vote.
So this is a really funny joke. They want to get Lurch on the TV because they think that he will appeal to the women's vote, which is supposed to be a joke because he's supposed to be such a big, scary guy. But that's so funny because later on in the series, Lurch actually gets like a music career and he's like a hottie. He's like 6'7" or something like that too. He's a big old like hottie and people love him. So like the Addamses are not wrong for this. But Mr. Hilliard's idea of what he thinks people want versus what they actually want is a little bit askew. So they're not wrong to try to get Lurch in the campaign because he'll get those votes.
Lurch expresses himself on the candidacy of Sam L. Hilliard.
What a good use of his like, they just like slowly pan up to him. I like, my headcanon for this is that Lurch does not actually want to be involved in politics. He thinks that's something that should not be talked about. Like he prefers to keep it chill. He doesn't want to upset anybody. That's my headcanon. And the Addamses are just like, hey, you could be a really good endorser for this. And he's like, doesn't really want to talk politics.
You'll forget all about money when you hear the song that Uncle Fester wrote for you. A campaign song.
They even have a song written by Uncle Fester to support Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Hilliard is not excited about this. From what he remembers of Uncle Fester, he does not really want Uncle Fester to be singing him a song.
To the harpsichord, Lurch, we're going to do the song.
Lurch cannot get away from this politics. He really doesn't want to be involved, and they are really forcing him to go play the harpsichord for Fester's song right now. And Lurch is not vibing.
Honest and fearless, Samuel is peerless. He's a man for home ways dumb. So don't be a goat and just cast your vote for the pride of our city.
So that was Fester's song. Not gonna lie, I feel like it's gonna get stuck in my head.
Don't worry about the flickering. We'll have him recharged.
So this is episode 3 already, and I think, or no, wait, this is episode 4, and I think this is the third time in the series that we've seen Uncle Fester's light bulb trick. I'm going to guess this is going to be a go-to every time. I feel like when Fester is centric in the episode, he will pull out the light bulb at some point.
Oh, I almost forgot the most important thing, our party mascot.
We don't need a party.
Oh, yes, we do. The Democrats have their donkey. The Republicans have their elephant.
Guess what we have?
I couldn't begin to.
We have Kitty Cat. Kitty. Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
So they bring out Kitty finally as their mascot for their party. I guess Mr. Hillard is running possibly independent because they want to bring out a special mascot for him, and they bring out Kitty. Also, I love that they spent so much time and money to bring in an actual lion for this one like little gag. I'm sure they're going to reuse that clip over and over again throughout the series, but this is the first time we've actually seen Kitty live, and I love that they did that just for this like gag.
Well, it looks like we backed the right man.
No question about it. I'm just sorry about one thing.
What's that, dear?
I forgot to register.
We're about halfway through the episode, and we find out that Gomez has not even registered to vote. Mr. Hillard has run out of the house, screaming as he always does, and it does seem that this has all been somewhat in vain because Gomez isn't even registered to vote.
Human events, there are many moments that try men's souls. There are moments of crisis, of tragedy, turmoil, doubt. There are even moments.
Gomez is reading one of his speeches for Morticia. He puts Kitty to sleep. We get some other shots of Kitty. So I'm going to guess what they did is they had the lion on set for a day, and they filmed all the stuff they were going to use probably for the whole series with the lion. Because if you notice, nobody's actually in the same shot as the lion, probably for safety reasons. But I'm going to guess they spent the budget on the lion for one episode so they could just reuse the footage over and over again.
Now we come to the biggest, the most burning issue of the day. The question of... You make that out?
Question of swamps.
Oh, yes. As to the matter of swamps.
Darling, the less said about that, the better.
So Gomez is slowly having to cut down his speech because of controversial topics. The last thing we get to is what the Addams truly care about, which is saving the swamps and keeping the swamps preserved. And Morticia tells Gomez that it's best to keep that quiet. People don't need to be thinking about it too much. They don't want it to be that much of a controversial topic.
Now, you all know what you're supposed to do? Lurch, you hit the swanky Oak Knoll section.
Roger.
Mama?
Oh, I get off in the business district.
You parade up and down the street with your placard, and you blow your bugle. Uncle Fester, is your assignment clear?
I sing, light up, and pass out $3 bills.
Remember, the secret word is dignity.
All right, Lurch. Blast off.
Morticia and Gomez send Lurch, Mama, and Fester out to campaign for Hillard. Mama's going to the financial district. I really was hoping we were going to see more about her, especially with politics, because I'm assuming since she was such like a fighter for her own rights back in the day, that she was going to be a little more prevalent. I think if this episode was made today, it would probably be a lot more, possibly from her point of view, because that is so interesting, especially someone who's kind of lived through that movement. It'd be so fascinating to see where she would go. Either way, we're seeing a little more of Mama, which I'm very excited for.
Well, everything looks good so far.
Polls say you're a shoo-in.
I wouldn't be if I hadn't gotten rid of that Addams family.
Oh, please, let's not mention them again.
You're right. I'll hop on down the polls and keep an eye on things.
Right.
If anything goes wrong, call me.
Right.
Mr. Hillard thinks he has the election in the bag, and he thinks it's all due to getting rid of the Addamses and not including them in the campaign. He does not realize that they are still working on the campaign. Even without his support, they are supporting him.
We're here to the 4th Ward. The Addamses are loose.
Hillard's advisor tells Hillard that the Addamses are on the loose and they are still supporting him, and he needs to get down there right now to deal with it.
I better return you to our studios, KBHL. I'm beginning to see things.
Thank you, Mel. And there you see...
Why would Mr. Hilliard chase Uncle Fester with a stick?
Nonsense, dear. Didn't you hear the reporter admit he was seeing things?
Mr. Hillard tries to chase Fester out with a stick. Morticia does not like this, but the reporter cannot imagine what he's seeing, so he thinks he's delusional and seeing something, and so Gomez thinks, oh, he must be seeing things. Mr. Hillard wouldn't chase Fester. He would never do that. Mr. Hillard's a good guy, according to Gomez.
Bass,
Boss?
call my mother and tell her not to wait up for me.
Good idea.
We see Hillard interact with the gate once more, which he did in the pilot episode. We did see him already kind of having to deal with gate once before. He also tells his assistant or his campaign manager, I'm not really sure what he is exactly, but he tells the other guy to tell his mother that he will not be home on time, to not wait up. So Mr. Hillard still lives with his mother. Interesting.
Hilliard, we've been expecting you.
I should think so.
I'll take your hat.
No, I'm holding on to it this time.
Mr. Hilliard then confronts Gomez and Morticia. He comes over because he's mad.
I'm going to turn this whole thing over to a lawyer.
A lawyer?
Yes.
My card.
Gomez is responsible for putting more criminals behind bars than any other man in the United States.
You, a prosecuting attorney?
Attorney for the defense.
Did we just get officially what Gomez does for work? In the pilot, Morticia says the law is Gomez's thing. But I would assume that she meant he dealt with their legal matters. But Gomez is a lawyer? Legitimately, this is the first time I've noticed this. We finally find out what Gomez's job is? Honestly, that makes so much sense. That makes total sense. He's a lawyer. I would want him to represent me. He'd be a good lawyer. I could see that. Because he would think outside the box. Also, in the movie, they bring up a thing about how he's going to represent himself, and they say a man who represents himself as a fool or something like that, and he says, I am that fool. But if he's actually a lawyer, that's so cool. That is why he does think he can represent himself, because he knows the law.
Oh, hello, Bass. Really? Some of the first returns are in. Oak Knolls, eh? Uh-huh. Good. I see. Good work, Bass. It's a landslide.
For Hilliard?
For Quimby, 76-0.
Gomez gets a call that the election was a landslide for Quimby, not Hilliard. Wah, wah. It's almost like you can't be rude to your biggest supporter and expect to still have support.
He's here. It's for you again.
I'm not going near that thing.
I'll take the message. Oh, hello, Mr. Bass. Really? It's the 9th precinct. Oh, well, that's much better. Hilliard 6, Quimby 110.
Quimby even admitted to fraud, but he's still won by such a landslide in the middle precinct as well.
Mr. Quimby is claiming victory.
Wonderful!
What's wonderful about it?
Can't you see, old man? The trap, the Achilles heel, the Waterloo of every politician, overconfidence.
The Addamses are still convinced that despite Quimby having more votes in all the precincts, that Hilliard still could win.
I'm so glad you joined the Zen Yoga Society, darling.
Right, querida.
After a strenuous campaign, at least you can relax.
Every man should learn to relax.
We are back to our all's well that ends well, back to the status quo. The Addamses are hanging out, Morticia's knitting, Gomez is doing yoga, Fester's playing the harp while Lurch plays the harpsichord. That's kind of fun. I didn't realize that Fester could play the harp.
Oh, it says Mr. Hilliard is quitting politics.
Really? Must be his health.
Gomez reads in the newspaper that Mr. Hilliard is quitting politics officially, and they assume maybe it's his health, maybe it was too much on his heart.
As a matter of fact, it says he's thinking of leaving the country.
Poor man. I was so sure he'd win.
I guess we got into the campaign too late.
Mr. Hilliard's leaving town, possibly even the country. The Addamses feel like it's their fault for getting into the campaign a little too late to help show him that support.
Miss, I'm afraid we failed.
Not according to Quimby. He says if it wasn't for us, he wouldn't have won.
What a generous thing to say.
Quimby thanks the Addamses for helping him win and secure his victory, and Morticia's like, thanks.
Why, hello, Mr. Hilliard. Really? Isn't that nice? Well, thank you. Goodbye. That was that nice Mr. Hilliard. He says he's glad he lost. The mayor appointed him head of the school board. It's a much better position.
Mr. Hilliard then calls to thank the Addamses because he might not have won the election, but he'd been appointed the president of the school board. That's great. I feel like that definitely will come back in later to play in later episodes because they do have so many problems with the school board. So I'm sure we will see him once more.
Where are you going, darling?
To the playroom. To add Mr. Hilliard to our illustrious collection.
The episode then ends with Gomez taking the poster of Mr. Hilliard and bringing it to the playroom to hang up with his other posters of all the other candidates that he's supported over the years. Overall, this is a very fun episode. I would have liked to see a little bit more about Mama and her past of fighting for her rights because I think that'd be very cool. I do think on some level that Mama is a brat. If she was around in today's climate, she would definitely be doing the trend, the Apple trend. I definitely think she fought for her rights and she's cool like that. Also, so excited to find out Gomez's official profession, at least one of them. He's a lawyer. Makes so much sense. Anyway, if you would like more content like this, make sure you follow and like for more Addams Family content and more film content. Make sure you follow for more. Bye. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Da da dum. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. The creepy and the kooky, they're all together ooky. Mysterious and spooky. The Addams Family. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Da 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 dum. Da da dum. You know the one. Everyone knows that song. At least I hope you do.